These are the beautiful and bountiful Scottish Highlands, where the scenery is plentiful, and so are the distilleries. I'm in Speyside, a sub-region of the Highlands, and a place many consider to be the heart and soul of Scotland's single malt whiskies. Now, I'm not going to enter that fray, but I am going to introduce you to two of my favorite single malt producers, Glenfiddich and Balvenie. I'll start with Glenfiddich, which was founded by William Grant in 1886.
William Grant got a job at the age of 26 at a nearby distillery at Mortlach, and he worked there for 20 years, and in 1886 he decided that he would start his own distillery. I mean, he was 46, so in Victorian times that was, you know, pretty near probably the end of his profession as opposed to the beginning. And he had 7 sons and 2 daughters, had saved enough money to buy some second-hand equipment, and with the help of only a trained stonemason, he and his 7 sons built this distillery, and that is the part of the original malt barn that we see here and the old kiln.
In case you're wondering, as I was, Glenfiddich means Valley of the Deer, hence the stag on the label. As the name suggests, single malt scotches are made with a single malt, barley. The barley is malted to release its sugars, and those sugars are in turn converted into alcohol. It's a fairly simple formula, but it's crucial that the water be pure and the barley high grade. They're very proud of their water at Glenfiddich. It comes from the Robbie Dew well on a hillside overlooking the distillery. It's not much to see, just a cairn with a padlock, but boy is it important. Without good water, there can be no good whiskey. Back at the distillery, it's critical that the distillation process is consistent. The first drop of single malt from these stills, which are smaller than the usual ones, came on Christmas Day, 1887. And there's a final component, the aging of the spirit. Inside these stone warehouses with rock floors and slate roofs, the whiskeys breathe, moving in and out of the wood that houses them. Water, barley, and barrels. The only thing I've left out is the human component. At Glenfiddich, they refer to their workers as family, people like Dennis McBain, a coppersmith who's been maintaining Glenfiddich stills his entire life.
The main reason was because my father and 2 of my brothers worked, and the money was good, better than you could get elsewhere. But I had to wait nearly a year before there was an opening, you know, to come here. And I actually started in the floor maltings when they had the maltings here, and then an opening arose to work with the coppersmith that the company had employed.
And when was that?
That was in 1959.
McBain was actually here a year before that magical 50-year-old Glenfiddich single malt. The reason I'm here was even put in a barrel.
It's a great feeling because at the end of the day, it kind of signifies my time here, if you like, and everything. We've had good times, bad times, more good times than bad times in the industry, and it's just great to end up with a whiskey which is, I would say, the best that's ever come out of Glenfiddich, but that's my personal opinion.
I'll have much more on the 50 in just a minute, but first, more on the process. There are 28 stills at Glenfiddich. They produce about 10 million liters of single malt scotch a year. Where does all that liquid gold go? Well, much of it into Glenfiddich's famed Warehouse 8. Like McBain, warehouse worker Eric Stephen has been a part of the Glenfiddich family since he was a young man, 47 years ago to be precise.
Way back then, everything was, there was no forklifts, so everything had to be lifted or pushed up skids, onto a table, and into a store to store the casks.
Being a warehouseman was and is a labor-intensive job. Moving the barrels around isn't easy. Stephen takes pride in his work and the fact that the spirits he's watched over and helped mature are being enjoyed the world over.
It's been a satisfaction. What a satisfaction. What a good memories.
I know I'll have good memories thanks to Stephen as he and I tried a cask sample of a whiskey laid down in 1957.
Lovely, isn't it?
Oh my goodness. Wow,
Much is in the fire.
The finish just goes on and on. It's so round and ripe and elegant.
Once it goes down into the the stomach.
Oh, it just it's lighting me up all the way down, isn't it? This is something to, as you said, maybe to sit in front of a fire and just
A nice cold night and the feet up. And
well, what a treat! A treat visiting with you, and a treat trying this. Slàinte.
Slàinte.
And there were more taste treats to come, including that 50-year-old Glenfiddich single malt. This was to be quite the unveiling, starting with pipers welcoming guests. Everyone was there, including coppersmith Dennis McBain and warehouseman Eric Stephen. But there was no doubt the true star of this affair was the Glenfiddich 50, piped in to have its packaging shown off.
This is the latest version of our very proud Glenfiddich.
And we didn't just get a chance to see the 50-year-old, we actually got a chance to taste it during a lavish multi-course Highlands dinner. It was liquid gold, by far the finest single malt scotch I've had the privilege to taste. This is only the second time in the history of the company that a 50-year-old whiskey has been released. And with only 50 bottles released at a price of £10,000 per bottle, this is a special occasion indeed. Glenfiddich single malts are also balanced and elegant, preferring grace over brute force. That's exactly the type of single malts I prefer, so it's no surprise they showed beautifully in a little tasting at the distillery. The 12-year-old, followed by the 15. Global Brand Manager Ian Miller says the first thing you need to do is warm things up.
So
You want to warm it up?
You want to warm it up because you get a much more aroma at room temperature now. The Scottish sunshine is doing its best to mimic 20 degrees Celsius, but it's not going to quite get there. So in Fahrenheit terms, you want to be up about 66 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit in order to get the best out of your whiskey.
And this really releases the
more aroma
aromas.
and much more flavour on the palate as well.
Miller also suggests adding just a touch of water to help neutralize the bite of the alcohol and release even more flavors and aromas.
It softens it, and it broadens the palate.
But you can access to much more flavour as well. So
It covers more of your mouth.
Absolutely.
It really does.
Yep.
That's a delicious expression.
Next, the Glenfiddich 15-year-old, which is sweeter and richer.
Honey notes, richer,
Sweet,
sweeter, and more complexity even without the water.
more complexity without the water, so much richer in flavour. And I actually find that if I add water to this one here, it reduces the richness of flavour, and I don't want to do that.
Right.
So what I do is I get it up to temperature,
Right.
and that does it for me.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people want to add water to it, and I say, well, if you're going to do that, just add a couple of drops, and it's always a couple of drops at a time. You can always add a few more if it's still too strong.
As a general rule of thumb, as you move up the ladder from 12, 15, 18, 21, if you're going to add water, as you move up, you should add less and less.
Yep.
Because as you pointed out, you can always add more to adjust it to your own palate. But once you get in there,
Can't get it back out.
can't get it back out.
Yep.
Well,
That's
wonderful.
Good. That's a good thing to take away with you if nothing else.
I took that away and then some. Thank you so much, Ian.
Slàinte.
Slàinte.
Glenfiddich isn't just a popular single malt. In fact, the 12-year-old is the best-selling in the world. It's also a popular destination. The distillery receives some 75,000 guests a year. Visitors tour the facilities, learn of the history and process involved in crafting great single malt scotches, and at the end they can grab a souvenir. The gift shop is terrific, featuring everything Glenfiddich. Of course, Glenfiddich is about producing the best single malt Scotch whiskey possible, but at the end of the day, it's also about family, and all that means.
Well, I think the idea of family business is more than just the sort of shareholder structure. I think there is a sense now that the values that a family brings and a family of people bring, as exemplified again, I think by the craftsmen here at Glenfiddich, the average service that we have here. We can still be commercial, but we can still be kind. But, there's a combination, there's a balance that can be struck, and it can be better struck in a family business where maybe the financial demands are not quite so pressing.